Hello! When I was working on my latest animation about unintelligible waiting room announcement systems, a big cybersecurity event hit the news headlines, whereby large portions of the NHS were hit by a ransomware virus. And I thought it would be a good idea to make an easy-to-understand video about what, how and why it was able to spread so far and wide. It's important to realise that it's not a specific targeted attack on the NHS, and at least another 100 countries across the world have been affected. This means that there isn't some kids sat in their darkened room planning the downfall of the NHS.
Ahoy, me hearties!
However, the virus does target outdated systems such as Windows XP, which is no longer supported by Microsoft in the mainstream and therefore no longer has regular security updates. The NHS has thousands of PCs that haven't necessarily been updated to the latest version and still running Windows XP. The virus is able to worm its way through a network because when you attach a computer to a network, it listens for incoming connections that provide various services, and it just so happens that there is an exploitable vulnerability in an older version of the file sharing service. This is made worse because the design of the file sharing service is from a time when little or no authentication was used to prove identity, and so it will accept connections from any old Tom, Dick or Harry.
Hang 'em from the yard arm.
Once the virus has gained control of a computer, it will scan the local network for any other exploitable computers, and it also creates over 100 processes to scan for more vulnerable computers on the wider internet.
Oh, hands on!
And so the number of infections gets larger and larger and larger. This means that computers will continuously reinfect each other. You might think that the system has been completely cleared, but all it would take is for someone to switch on an infected computer that hasn't been cleared, and you're back to square one again.
There she blows.
To have a better understanding of the type of vulnerability that allowed this virus to spread, you need to have a basic understanding of binary numbers and the way negative numbers are representative. There is also a lot of talk in the media as to who is to blame for this exploitable vulnerability, with everybody blaming everybody else. However, the underlying code that allows this virus to spread and is the result of a programming mistake is most definitely part of Microsoft Windows. So let's say, for simplicity's sake, that you have a 3-bit number, whereby the maximum number that can be stored is 7, which is all bits set to 1. If you use a 4-bit number to subtract 8 from 7, then the result is -1. How does a computer represent -1? Subtracting 7 from 7 gives 0, and 1 more to give 8 makes all the bits roll over to all 1s, similar to how a car mileometer works once you've gone past the maximum mileage. The processor knows that the result of this subtraction has rolled over and briefly knows that it is a negative number. The process of the numbers rolling over from all 0 to all 1s is called Underflow. Negative numbers are stored in a form of binary called 2's complement, whereby the upmost binary bit represents a minus number and all the other bits are positive. In a 3-bit number, -1 is made from -4, add 2, and add 1. This means that the maximum positive number that can be stored in a 2's complement value is less than a non-2's complement number, but has the advantage of being able to represent minus numbers. The processor assumes that the programmer knows that the result of the subtraction will result in a minus number and will store and interpret the value appropriately. Therefore, the processor will quickly forget that this result was negative when it performs the next instruction that has a positive or negative result. So how can this be exploited to gain control of a computer? To explain, you need a binary number with more than 3 bits. A good size is 8 bits, otherwise known as a byte. In reality, however, the vulnerability is using 16 and 32 bits. Subtracting 33 from 32 gives a result of -1. Which of course is represented as all bits being set to 1. However, this can also represent the number 255 or 255 in an unsigned non-2's complement number. And this is where an exploit can happen if the negative number is used as a parameter to the routine that copies blocks of memory. It is of course impossible to have a negative amount of memory, and so the routine treats the number as a positive. In our example, the destination block of memory has a size of 32 bytes, but the copy size is 255 bytes, and so the first 32 bytes will copy into the correct memory location, but then it continues to overwrite the next 223 bytes located after our block of memory. If this overwritten memory after our own block of memory is used for important program information, then this could change what the program does next. Instead of continuing with the normal code, it could be forced to go to somewhere else that contains virus code. This sort of vulnerability is called type confusion and includes trying to shove a big number into a number that doesn't have enough bits. It's only the lower set of bits that get preserved. Due to the number of insecure computers on the internet, this virus outbreak was an accident waiting to happen, and as mentioned before, it probably wasn't aimed specifically at the NHS. Thankfully, the virus was accidentally stopped by a security researcher who registered an internet name that he'd seen in the program code of the virus to see what happened, and it acted as a kill switch. The protection against this virus is the same as any other virus, and it's the usual best practice of using a firewall to stop incoming attacks, antivirus from a reputable company, not clicking on unknown email attachments or web addresses, keeping up to date with software patches, and updating to the latest version of Windows. These measures should be enough to stop most viruses.
Shiver me timbers.